Hello everyone, Jeff with the Green Review. I purposely bought a few extra daffodil bulbs so that I could force them to grow in a pot so I can take it in the house and then have it as a beautiful set of flowers in the spring. Bulb forcing is kind of a misnomer. It's more like bulb coaxing. You really can't force these bulbs to do things they're not going to do. But you can give them the proper conditions to get them to bloom kind of when you want to, with a little bit of leeway. So what we have here is just a mix of inexpensive daffodil bulbs. And I've already put them into the pot this deep. I'm going to cover them with more soil to cover the top of the bulbs, water them in, put them in a plastic garbage bag or plastic grocery bag, and it doesn't have to be completely sealed, but then it'll hold the moisture in a little better into the soil, so that it could be, because refrigerators dry out the air that's around them. So we'll put this in the refrigerator because these bulbs need to have a cold dormancy period. So the refrigerator will be down in the low 40s. That'll be perfect for these bulbs. They could go into my cold frame kind of storage area that I have for my blueberry pots, where I have blueberries in containers that year-round, and so I need to protect the root system. I build a little structure around them, bury them in leaves, and keep them kind of semi-insulated from the bitter cold. They could go into that. They could get buried in the ground. It's hard to get them back out of the ground when the ground is frozen later, so you have to kind of do a lot of work to try to keep them in a way that you can pull them back out again. It's much easier just to put them in the refrigerator. Now they are going into the garage refrigerator, not the house refrigerator, because the house refrigerator has a lot of fruit. And a lot of different kinds of fruit release ethylene gas, which can kill or prevent the daffodil flower buds from growing. So we don't want them in these pots in the house refrigerator or in a refrigerator that's going to store fruit. If you're really interested in bulb forcing, you really need to get the book called Bulb Forcing by Art Wolk. And the best way to get this book is to go to his website, artwolk.com. It covers everything you need to know about bulb forcing. All the usual suspects of the crocuses and tulips and daffodils, hyacinths, but all kinds of other ones like the erythema. It has a completely different kind of flower. It's a jack-in-the-pulpit kind of looking flower. Different irises, hyacinths, it's full of color photos all the way through, and it's very detailed step-by-step on how to do this. And so if you're interested at all in growing bulbs through the bulb forcing method, you really need to get that book. Now next spring, after these are done blooming, I will plant them out into the landscape in areas where I know it'll take several years for them to recover, and then hopefully we'll be able to get some flowers out of them naturalized in the garden out in the future. And so through the miracle of time travel, we will see how well these bulbs bloomed in the spring in just 1 second. Well, here we are a few months later. The bulbs that were in the pot that I was showing you before were small bulbs in a cheap bulb package, and they didn't do as well in the blooming. They're doing fine growing, but they're not doing that well blooming. There's only 3 flowers, and it looks like the rest of these probably don't have any flower buds coming up. That happens sometimes when you buy the inexpensive bulbs because they're small, and daffodil bulbs and tulip bulbs need to grow much larger to bloom a lot of times. So the bigger the bulb that you buy, the better off you are, because the more likely you're going to get flowers that first year. And that's the case with this side, where all of these were much larger bulbs, and they have all bloomed. There's 2 here in the front that haven't bloomed yet. One is smaller, one has a flower bud coming up, so I'm not sure that this last one here is going to bloom, but the larger bulbs definitely bloomed much better than the smaller bulbs. Now these smaller bulbs, like I said, are going to go outside, and actually the larger ones will too, and we will plant them in the spring. Now most of these bulbs need about a 3-month cold spell. So if you're buying bulbs in October or November, by the time you've refrigerated them for 3 months, you can start bringing these things out in February and March, long before winter is over. So it bloomed 2 days ago here. It snowed 2 days ago here, so winter is not over quite yet. And so you can enjoy the flowers indoors and have a little bit of sunshine, waiting for the real spring to come, when these things would normally be blooming, and when the timing that they will bloom in the future when they're planted outdoors. And now it'll take a little bit of time because, again, these have to grow. A lot of times when the bulbs are forced, they don't do that well the first couple of years afterwards. The forcing does take a lot out of them, but they will eventually, especially daffodils, will eventually come along. And so these are going to get planted into the side yard where I can cut the flowers off in the future and bring them indoors and put them in a vase. And this is Jeff with A Greener View. Thanks for watching.